No one expects anything of quality from Buzzfeed, but yesterday they really outdid themselves, and this is Buzzfeed News. They are calling this the news. Here we go. Racist trolls have been posing as Baltimore looters on Twitter. Correct, they have. Well done. They are using the hashtag Baltimore Loot Crew and old photos to paint African Americans in a bad light. Not quite. Trolls troll. That's what they do. They want to wind you up, they want to bait people like you into writing about them as well. BuzzFeed News talked to some of the trolls behind the stunt. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Great, you're doing research, but you need to understand that these people are trolls. You can't present what they're saying as anything other than trolling, really. They want to get in the news and wind people up, and now they have, and they're ecstatic. And I think it's hilarious as well, to be honest. You know immediately from the first paragraph of this article that it's going to be a train wreck. Emma O'Connor writes that social media is vulnerable to the exploitation of internet trolls. Sorry, I think you mean it's vulnerable to exploitation by internet trolls, much like BuzzFeed is. Unless you're concerned about people taking advantage of anonymous wind-up artists, the exploitation of internet trolls isn't really an issue, but I digress. Let's carry on to the meat of the article. The racist group Cabal has been using social media in an attempt to make people think old photos represent looters in Baltimore. Okay, in the nicest way possible, the Cabal are just a bunch of goofs. They're just having fun, and from what I can see, they're good-hearted. They are certainly not a racist group. They're just a novelty on social media. A man in color, a woman in color. Here's an example of a post by one of them today. It's just a funny thing to do with your Twitter account. That's it. And people joke about it being some super top secret organization. Bear that in mind as we continue through this, news article. During the riots in Baltimore over the death of Freddie Gray, members of the openly racist and white supremacist 8chan affiliated group began creating tweets by fake looters. If they're open about all these things, you wouldn't be needing to ask trolls about it. And how come she's saying 8chan affiliated? Aren't they also Twitter affiliated? The only thing this could possibly suggest to me is that she's saying they have some sort of official affiliation with it, some sort of agreed connection. So now she's talking absolute nonsense about 8chan as well as a bunch of random novelty accounts on Twitter. Cabal is the self-titled enforcement branch of Gamergate, whose focus is to smear minorities and women so as to remove them from the gaming community. I'd just like to reinforce the fact that this is not satire, this is a serious piece of news. Juice and Grand Moff Alexander were taken at face value and their words were printed as news. Someone thought the sentence, Cabal is the self-titled enforcement branch of Gamergate, was a reasonable sentence that was worth sharing with the world. He also said that the group's mission is to enforce gaming ethics and that everyone in the group self-identifies as racist. Yes, I do believe that he did say that to you. It has 36 official members, mostly in North America and Canada, and its self-proclaimed Supreme Commander goes by a man in green. So she's not just posting a bunch of bullshit some troll said, she's named someone. And yes, they don't have their real name on their account, but I bet I could find it if I wanted to. I decided to ask a man in green some questions. I just asked him, are you racist? Are you a white supremacist? All that sort of stuff, you know. Have you ever paid anyone to troll for you? Yes, the article said that. And of course, the answers were no. In fact, a man in green pointed me to tweets of his making fun of the white genocide tag. He is absolutely not a white supremacist. Unbelievably, this shitfest ends with advice on how to spot trolls. In particular, people using fake avatars. You know, people who use faces that aren't theirs. She recommends using reverse image search. And then the example she gives is someone who is joking and trolling, but is not using a fake image for themselves. And in fact, I'm going to link to a video of his in the description. In it, he explains why he used the Baltimore Loot Crew tag. Personally, I think it's much more clever than just plain old trolling. Anyway, back to the issue at hand, the article. Who wrote it? Emma O'Connor. She has previously written for The Guardian, Women Under Siege, and the Brooklyn Quarterly. I am sure they love her having those on her profile after writing stuff like this. Because of this tweet, some speculated that she'd only just started writing for BuzzFeed. Regardless of whatever this tweet means, whether it means she's become fully employed by BuzzFeed or something else, she has been writing for them since at least October. A little while ago, she did update the article. She changed the title to "A Racist Gamer Group Has Been Posing as Baltimore Looters on Twitter." If you haven't checked out the J Miller Works video, check it out now. Also, an editor's note was added, saying, "The people interviewed in this story have since claimed online that they were dishonest in the interviews. BuzzFeed cannot verify the accuracy of their statements or their involvement. Original story continues below." So they've said that their story is absolute random trash from Anons Online, but they've left it. Yeah, it's cool. They've left a man in green being named. Today, BuzzFeed have acted as a mouthpiece and platform for trolling. Nothing more. This is not news. And I mean, really, nothing's gonna happen to a man in green, but it's just the principle of it. Imagine if that had been a person's name. Maybe she would have twigged. However, we have the logs of the actual interviews that were conducted over DMs. I'm not so confident that she would have realized something's up if someone was named. I have no idea how someone could be fooled by this. You can tell from reading the article that something's horribly wrong, but you might think, oh, I wonder how they convinced her or tricked her. They didn't. They just went full out and took the piss. And this was taken as a source for a news story. She asked Juice about the Baltimore loot crew and was told that they're part of the 8chan image board, which is an offshoot of Gamergate. She was told flat out that they have a thing called Color Cabal, designed to smear black people and remove them from gaming. And presumably she did not search anything. She just listened to 2 random anonymous people online about this and just took it as fact. Why do you do it? Emma asked. Because I want to remove minorities from gaming. You'd think a journalist would have some sort of sense for when they're being fucked with. People don't speak like this. They're giving her little sound bites to use in her article. They continue to talk about minorities and how they ruin everything. And she asks, how do they ruin everything? Juice responds, it is my mission as a Gamergate supporter to enforce ethics and remove niggers from video games. Why even bother interviewing anyone? It doesn't actually add any credibility to your story if you interview random trolls and then use them as a source. Might as well just make it up and say you were talking to an anon person. She does make a final attempt to make sure it's real. She asks a real zinger, a real gotcha question to get the information she needs to know that this is good and that she can run a story. She asks, would you identify as a racist? Yes, all members of the Color Cabal and Gamergate are. Niggers need to go back to Africa and Spics need to go back to Mexico. Thank you. I have to block you now for safety reasons. My apologies. What safety reasons? What is she even talking about? This is like the consequences will never be the same guy. Is she scared of being backtraced by the cyber police? In some ways, the interview with Sirius Slav is even more amazing. He didn't go straight out with racial slurs and whatnot, but he was quite theatrical. This is read from bottom to top. Yeah, so it started within the gaming community and now is just taking over social media. Just as he planned. Birthed from the Minister of Gamergate, spreading and multiplying like cancer throughout social media. Is he the Minister of Gamergate or just of Color Cabal? He's the Supreme Commander of Color Cabal, and I'd suspect that he has a lot of influence in Gamergate. Forget Law & Order SVU. This is sci-fi material. Next, we actually learn what she meant by blocking for safety. Actually, do you have any, anti-trolling advice for me besides blocking all of them? Don't give in to them. They'll give you all sorts of shit. That's ideal for him. She's asked a troll for advice, and the troll is able to give her advice that will help make sure his trolling is pushed through in her work. Beautiful. Well played, I have to say. She says, yeah, well, I get a lot of that just from being a female journalist. I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you, but I think the shit you're getting, and I presume have been getting for your whole life, is for another reason. But, of course, as always, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.